What's going on, y'all? Savage here. Not able to talk for too long. Just got out of the hospital. Well, Cal Ripken Jr. He achieved a lot, yet you don't have to be a fan or to love him to respect that. This is the program from the day he broke the record for most games in a row. You know what, Lambdog? Not many of us were a fan of Charlie Kirk. I don't know why you didn't pronounce his name right purposefully. I know it's an algorithm reason or a respect issue. You don't have to be a fan of Cal Ripken to think he shouldn't be assassinated. Especially not for his ideas or his reasonable life's work that many people are proud of and consider a very American, patriotic, wonderful existence. Lambdog, you had stated that Charlie had put kids on the spot and exposes their ignorance. Oh, that's a shame. Sorry to hear that. Kind of said it in a real, you accused him of being glib. I would say your entire video was more glib than anything I had ever heard Charlie say. While my experience watching him was limited, I believe Charlie started as a teenager after dropping out of one semester of college and willing to debate Ivy League, all sorts of collegiate adults, not kids, adults with very, very strong opinions. Like I said, I hadn't seen a ton of this, but from what I've seen, he was quite respectful, despite if any of his positions or statements seemed to get a rise out of people or seemed glib or disrespectful. He would often state, again, from what I've seen, very limited, I want to hear your story. He was curious about their position and comfortable disagreeing. In fact, posthumously going to look at interviews or talks or humility, like when he was hilariously mocked on South Park. He took it really well. But he had made the statement that I don't have a problem with liberals, because liberals you can talk to, disagree with, go out to dinner, and they're your friends. The leftists, I forget how he phrased it, but they want you dead. They want you locked up. They want you exterminated or done or out of there. You don't deserve to speak because words are violence to them. The positions were violence, which is preposterous. By the way, here's a spring training from 1992 of Brett Butler, Eric Davis, Cal Daniels, Darryl Strawberry, Oral Hershiser. These are some good guys. You don't have to be a fan of them or even to like them to consider their life's work worth dying for. Vero Beach. So you had stated he wasn't really in your feed. He wasn't in my feed either. I doubt he was in a lot of our feeds. But my sweet native girl, Alaskan native, that was the only politics in her feed. Being 15 years younger than me, was on TikTok pretty regularly, and outside of little funny videos and whatever she purposefully liked and was in her algorithm, that Charlie Kirk popped up a lot and she watched it. It brought her closer to the godly life of a Christian she wanted to emulate. It brought clarity in some of the things that younger people contend with, and she didn't agree with everything he said. There was no propaganda going on. It was, here's the position, here's the other position, and listen to it. Another glib thing, and I know you've since made the Proverbs video and certainly are in a different position mentally than when you first made that video, but it ironically stuck out to, I think, I talked to Corey and then Corey talked to Shafe or something like that. Like I said, I've been talking much in and out of the hospital for a few weeks. It's just ironic that we're talking about a punchable face, that Lambdog, you look like Charlie Kirk let himself go and press fast forward for 20 years. Not as an insult, but you have almost the same face. It's just ironic. So yeah, the glib thing is, it's not hard to stomach. It just seems like you did exactly that times 10. You had mentioned that there's a way to handle debate, like Charlie Kirk had his way, and then Lambdog, I have my way. And is that the difference between having a strong, well-grounded, well-researched position versus riding the fence on almost every issue, which you're known for? I mean, we love you for it. The conversation starter, the arbiter of peace and harmony that we love you for. That's not what he was doing. What else do you say? Oh, the Unforgiven line. You did William Money in that movie dirty, bud. We're all got it coming, kid. Yeah, we are all gonna die. We're not all gonna be publicly assassinated in front of our family for our ideas, for our words. Charlie's daughter, when she heard the gunshot, she ran over to him for protection. He slumped over there dead almost immediately. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I don't care if it's Jimmy Kimmel or a politician or another liberal mouthpiece. That's horrifying. Especially if that's the other side. You're on that side. You have to disavow that immediately. That's horrifyingly bad. If it's done against you, it's horrifyingly bad. I take a strong position on a very regular basis that if there's anything going to happen, the liberals have no idea how ill prepared they are to do business with the people who have been very calm. Rasmussen, some economics poll is kind of stating between 25 to 30% of younger, say 18 to 39-year-old liberals think this violence is reasonable. So what's the real number of the people willing to admit how they would love this violence to occur to Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson, all the other dipsticks, who we may or may not like. You don't have to like them. Here's some beautiful Native American art. Oh, that does it worse. That does it worse. Oh, that's a nice land. Just let you browse at something else here. It's the eagle and the frog, the raven, and the first men. Beautiful stories, by the way. The raven steals the salmon. Some beautiful pieces. What else did you have in there? For some reason, you compared some Canadian nutbag talking about guns and violence to Americans. It's kind of like apples and axes. There's a great difference there, in my opinion. I don't think, outside of maybe prominent figures who knew him personally, I haven't heard a lot of outspoken people that are quote-unquote fans of his. They support his existence and his efforts after he passed. It's kind of different. I don't think it's, what you're really going for, or what you're thinking about. You don't really have to be a fan. You don't have to love Cal Ripken Jr. You don't have to care about baseball. Just who he was, he's debating children. You're just really sticking it to him and being rude. He started when he was in his teens, debating other adults. And he got really good at it. He got really well read. And that is what's required to defend your position. You can't just go with the emotional response and expect the guilt and shame of name calling, xenophobic, racist, whatever you want to put a label on. You can make somebody look terrible on Wikipedia. That doesn't mean his heart and soul, he's a bad guy. In fact, I think it's super disingenuous for people to believe those positions. I don't care if Al Franken or Kamala Harris or whoever is deemed to be one certain way. Just evaluate their positions and you support them or you don't. None of these people are that radical. In fact, Charlie was extremely moderate from all I can gather. What was he? He's like a multi-millionaire business owner. He's an investor. Like a dad and a husband that was apparently everything was going really well. You mentioned, like, I don't even know if he believed in the stuff that he espoused and greater than 0% chance. Yeah, I think that's probably closer to 90% plus. And I would imagine that old Charlie was more moral than you or I. Guy's an author, huge influence in the young conservative movement that we don't really play a role in. So outside of our purview a little bit, but he certainly meant a lot to a lot of people, including somebody that I love. So, you know what? Another bit I caught from Shafe's video, some dipstick is talking about, like, oh, I really see how you feel about freedom of speech. If you're willing to dance on the grave of, publicly brag and cheer about the death of your political rivals and opponents, you have no place in polite society. And instead of being a doctor or a lawyer, professor, I believe what I put in Shafe's video is to whatever commenter guy. You could go mop up jizz in the red light district and you can say whatever you want, man. You do have freedom of speech. You say some shit like that about political violence and you can't control your shit, you're fucking fired that day. I don't give a fuck who you are. Anyway, like I said, I run out of energy really quick. Building back up, looking healthy. Not looking healthy, but the CAT scans look better than before. So, wish you all a great weekend. Pleasure seeing you guys, Hope all is well on your end. So, Savage out.